The movie begins with Lincoln, with his baby sis Lily as they plan to get to breakfast before their sisters wake up, but on getting out they realize their sisters were already up, and as they rush to the dining, Lincoln raised the carpet, sending them out of the house as Lincoln and his baby partner in crime had the burrito all to themselves, but just as they were about eating it, their sisters caught up to them and pounced on them, but they were able to escape as Lily was able to reserve a burrito and shared with Lincoln. Their mom arrived to take Lola to her recital, but on realizing all the girls had activity, their mom and dad panicked as they couldn't drive them all at once. Lincoln took charge as he handed their equipments over to them, and they rushed to the car. Lincoln directed his mom and dad to Lori's activity as she made it on time for the golf competition and took first place. The next stop was Lenny's fashion show as she made it on time, and their next stop was Luna's guitar competition, which she did exceptionally well as they made their way to Luan's comedy show where she brought laughter to the audience. They were also able to make their way to Lynn's football competition, Lucy's mortician contest, Lola's beauty pageant, Lana's race, and Lisa's science competition. At the end of the day, the girls were happy as their mom and dad thanked Lincoln for his role in putting things in place. They stopped at a restaurant to have dinner and decided to take some pictures when the residents spotted the girls and rushed to take pics with them as Lincoln was accidentally shoved out of the restaurant and the door was locked from behind. Lincoln felt pretty bad for being left out. He spoke to his friend Clyde about him not being special, unlike his sisters, and stated that even Clyde was exceptionally good at baking, but Clyde cheered him, saying that his baking skills runs in his genes as his grandparent and aunts baked for royalty in the past. Clyde advised Lincoln to trace his source of origin, as he might find something good to emulate. The family were preparing for bed when Lincoln asked his dad for their origin, as he came with the idea for them to have a vacation there, but as his dad didn't know his origin, Lisa did what she knows best as she obtained a sample of her dad's saliva, and after a series of experiments, the test determined that their dad hailed from the country Scotland. Lincoln was able to convince their family to go on vacation to Scotland as they packed their bags and went to the airport, paid for the cheapest flight to their next stop, and arrived at Scotland on a boat. Arriving at Scotland, they were so excited to meet their relatives, and as they walked around announcing that they were the Louds, they got the attention of Angus and other residents as they were delighted and welcomed the family to Loch Loud, a town founded by their ancestors. Angus, the groundkeeper of the Loud House Castle, was delighted as he welcomes them to their ancestral home, but Morag, the caretaker, wasn't thrilled with their arrival, but decides to endure as the Louds planned to stay for just a week. Angus showed the Louds the portraits of their ancestors who had a striking resemblance to them. The sisters explored the castle and engaged in various activities, while Lincoln stayed as Angus told him of the most special of his ancestors, which was the Duke of Loch Loud. The Duke had a striking resemblance to Lincoln, and he gets to stay in the Duke's room. Lincoln was delighted on seeing the Duke's crown, as he dressed just like the Duke and paraded before his family, and he felt special for a moment. His family laughed at him, but from that moment Lincoln knew what he wanted to do. Dinner was served as their ancestral baby dragon, who hatched recently, was also present. There Lincoln asked Angus what it might take to become the Duke, as Angus highlighted on how he needs to serve the people of Loch Loud to become the Duke. Angus escorted Morag to where she will be staying for a while, till the Louds vacate the castle, as she seems to be disappointed because her ancestors had been taking care of the castle since the Louds' ancestors sailed away and never came back. That night Lucy was able to conjure the spirit of her ancestor, Lucille Loud, who resembled her, and she showed Lucille to her family. Morag reminisced with the portrait of Aggie, her ancestor, who was responsible for driving the Louds' ancestors away. Lincoln head out as he participated in community service and assisted the residents in any way he can, and at the end of the day, they all wanted him to be Duke, but Morag told everyone he was only around for a week, which discouraged them from crowning him Duke. Lincoln, still determined to become Duke, was able to convince his family to move to Scotland, which they agreed. At the crowning ceremony, Morag was a bit reluctant to crown Lincoln, but at last he was crowned as he had a parade around town and also celebrated with his family. Morag, on realizing the Louds had moved to Scotland, went out as she hatched a plan to drive out the Louds. Lucille met with Lucy and told her the true story of how her ancestors who sailed away were on their way back when they got halted by the dragon. The dragon was very symbolic to Loch Loud, and as it deemed the Duke no longer worthy of the crown, the Duke had to return as their family sailed away from Loch Loud and never returned. Morag dug out a journal belonging to her ancestor Aggie. Well, it turns out the dragon that chased the Loud's ancestors wasn't in its right mind and was controlled by a dragon stone found in the journal as Morag plans to use it to chase the Louds away. Morag overheard Lincoln on the phone with Clyde, telling him how he is now special and no longer stuck in his sister's shadow, which gives her an idea on how to carry out her plans. Lucy and Lucille confronted Morag, asking for Aggie's journal to know the true story for the dragon's behavior, but Morag lied, stating the journal could not be found. Morag's plan had kick-started as she convinced the girls to showcase their talent in the village for all the residents to see, which they agreed. Lincoln was performing community service when his attention was drawn to cheering from a distance, and as he went to check, he was sad as his sisters had stolen the spotlight once again. Morag washed Lincoln up as he explained to her how his sisters stole the spotlight again. Things were going to plan for Morag as she pointed to a portrait of his ancestor riding a dragon, giving Lincoln an idea as he decides to ride a dragon. The people were amazed with their duke on a dragon, and Lincoln managed to steal the spotlight once again, but it didn't last long as Morag used the dragon stone to take control of the dragon's mind and caused widespread destruction in the town. It was a complete disaster as the resident who once cheered Lincoln began booing him as he ran out of their sight. Morag visited the dragon in the cave and fed it a combination of meals, making it grow bigger. Back at the castle, Angus and the Louds comforted Lincoln, making him feel better, but his joy was cut short by the residents as they no longer want him as duke and protested at the castle. Lincoln relinquished the crown and urges his family as they began sailing home. Morag was delighted as her plan had worked as she decides to burn Aggie's journal, but Lucille got to the journal quickly as she read it and realized that Aggie had betrayed them. Morag addressed the people, stating that she had been given permission by the Louds to become the new Duchess as a coronation was held, but Angus halted it, stating there were no such permissions. Morag, wanting to be Duchess, by all means enforced her authority with the dragon. The Louds on their way back were feeling sad about the previous ordeal when Lucille came around and informed them how Morag became Duchess, and also how she used the dragon stone to control the dragon. Lincoln, on realizing this was Morag's plan the whole time, decides to turn the ship around to rescue the villagers. The residents were on the run when the Louds arrived and met with Angus, who told them about the havoc caused by Morag. Together, they drafted a plan to get the scepter from her. Together, the sister lured her high, and Lincoln was able to climb onto the dragon and tried retrieving the scepter from her, which caused a distraction as the dragon crashed into a wall, sending them flying. Lincoln passed out as his family rushed to help him, but Morag intercepted and was about to engulf them in flames, but Lincoln came around with the crown, making Morag hesitate, and Lincoln, on realizing Morag's obsession with the crown, used it to lure Morag away from his family. Lincoln was on the brink of defeat when he spotted his baby sister Lily and decides to play tricks he taught her in the opening scene. Morag tried to engulf him but was shocked as the dragon's stone in the scepter was gone as baby Lily possessed and destroyed it, and Morag was rendered powerless. The dragon was back to normal, and the Louds were reunited as the residents arrived and cheered for Lincoln, wanting him to be the duke again. However, Lincoln suddenly realized that he was special in his own way and chose to give the crown to Angus, making him the new duke. Angus was a bit reluctant to become the duke, but the Loud ancestors appeared and gave him their blessing. As he was crowned, the people cheered for him. Morag was sentenced to an eternity in an island filled with noisy seals while the Louds help in rebuilding the village, and at the end, the people waved them as they sailed back home. Please like, share, and subscribe to It's Mythical for more mind-blowing recaps like these. Thanks for watching.